I would say fear was installed into me when I was as young as 5. Abuse within my parents was since I can remember, I knew that they did drugs. I knew that they were very abusive to each other. Since I was 5 years old, like I remember hearing them like physically rolling around, fighting and slapping and punching. There's been times where I was in the room and I would be so afraid that I would just run to a corner and put my hands over my ears and just rock back and forth because I was so scared. And just the drug use, I just knew I can see a difference in their behavior. I know that sounds crazy because I was a kid, but I can still vividly remember that first apartment that we lived in. Like I can still see where we were if I closed my eyes. You know, we would bounce back and forth. We had a joke in the family where they would say my mom was like a gypsy because she would just, one minute she wanted to be here and the next minute she was there, and she had her parents' support, you know, so she would just move back and forth. And we moved back to New York, and that's when things got really bad because I went from having a mom sometimes and having a somewhat mom to pretty much not having a mom at all. My grandparents, I think, always knew because they were like her sole providers and helpers because they're her parents, right? They want to help her and, you know, they love her, right? And I think they were in a bit of denial of what was going on. And so they didn't want to believe that she could be doing drugs. But when I blatantly told him that, she was very upset and she was not happy with me, and she basically told me she was going to leave and never come back. And that's when I ended up going and staying with my grandmother. She got clean, but unfortunately right after she got clean she found out she had lung cancer. It wasn't fun because then after my mom, you know, got sick, you know, a lot of family members came around more. My grandmother moved down here, then with my uncle, then a situation happened where we had to move and live with them. And that was probably in my teen life the worst time of my life because that was the first time I tried to commit suicide, was living in that house with two people that just didn't seem to like me or love me in the least. My argument, you know, with my grandmother, she was like, you're going in your room and you're not coming out for the rest of the day. Now, my brother was like one of the only normal people at that time in my life that was coming up, and I was so excited to see him and see his kids, and she drags me in the bedroom, and now I'm sitting in there and I'm going, there was all my hope, you know, my hope for happiness and fun. There she took it again, like I just can't do this. And I went in the closet and I took a wired hanger. And I remember sobbing on the ground as I wrapped it around my neck, and I felt my breath leaving me. And I remember saying, God, just please take me. Just please take me. I can't do this anymore. And I let go and I continued to sob. Later on that day, about maybe an hour or so later, I went to the bathroom and I saw marks on my neck. And let's just say, when I went out to my family, they weren't very supportive. My family, my grandmother looked at me and my grandmother said, oh, you want to kill yourself? We'll call the crazy house and we'll tell them to take you away. I had my mom look at me and tell me that I was stupid, that why would I do something like that? And then I had an uncle tell me, oh, next time you want to kill yourself, make sure you don't do it this way, but you do it this way because you'll get the vein better that way and you can really pull it off. When I started working at the YMCA, I met one of my dearest friends, even still to this day. Her name's Mary, and she was very different from me, very meek, very quiet, and I'm very loud and silly, but we had to work together and we just built a relationship. And she had been going to a church already, and I kind of told her a bit about my past and how, you know, when I was 15, what had happened and how life has been for me growing up. And she, you know, I basically told her that this is it. If I can't move out today on my, you know, it was my 18th birthday when I found out, then that was it. And she looked at me and she said, no, it's not. And so she actually came home with me that night, and actually on my birthday when I was 18 years old was the night that I gave my life back to Christ. the church that I went to at 17 was literally like what changed my life and let me see what other people and how they can be normal. And and I still dealt with a lot of rejection. I had to go through hours and hours of counseling, but I had so many amazing people that God just placed in my life through this church that just, I mean, still to this day, a lot of them are like aunts and uncles or big sisters, because they've imparted and they saw my worth. They saw what God saw in me, and they loved me the way that I deserve to be loved. But I still, as much as we can go through our trials and go through our tribulations and get through all of that, the devil is still real, and he's still alive, and he knows our weaknesses. He knows what he can tell us to try and get us to believe again. If things are going a certain way in our lives, he can have that whisper in your ear. You see, I told you, you're still not good enough. And those things would often, what I say is, once you've dealt with something, you're never going to not deal with it again. You just have to choose to fight through it, and you have to choose to know that there is a real God and ask for his help to get through it. I'm Esther Jones, and this is my hope story.